If ever anyone writes the story of my life, it should be called The Last Bonaparte, for I am the last. My cousins of the Imperial line are only Napoleons, wrote Princess Marie Bonaparte. Indeed, she made a legacy not as a scion of Napoleon's clan. In fact, she called her great-granduncle the ultimate mass murderer, but as a woman well ahead of her time who used her enormous fortune to advance Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis. More interestingly, the unconventional princess embarked on a lifelong search for orgasm, which eluded her for so long. Princess Marie Bonaparte was born on July 2, 1882 at Saint-Claude in Ile-de-France. She was the only child of Prince Roland Napoleon Bonaparte and his wife Marie-Félix Blanc. Her family affectionately called her Mimi. While from her father's side she claimed her royal title, the family barely had a fortune. Her paternal grandfather, Prince Pierre Napoleon Bonaparte, was the son of the rebellious and disinherited Lucien Bonaparte, Prince Français and first Prince of Canino and Musignano. Marie's maternal grandfather, François Blanc, earned a massive fortune by operating casinos in Monaco. Over time, he became known as the Magician of Monte Carlo and left a fortune estimated at 88 million francs when he died. However, Marie-Félix only received 8.4 million francs in trust, thanks to her mother's enormous debts when she died. Princess Marie's mother died of embolism. She inherited half of Marie-Félix's bequest, while the other half went to her father. The fortune left to Roland eventually grew and she inherited 60 million francs in 1924. Princess Marie Bonaparte suffered from hypochondria and phobias starting at a young age, which stemmed from her knowledge of herself bearing symptoms of tuberculosis. Hence, she spent much of her youth in seclusion, writing personal journals and reading literature. Princess Marie met her future husband, Prince George of Greece and Denmark, at a luncheon hosted by Prince Roland in September 1906. Prince George was one of the handsome sons of King George I of Greece. The prince courted her for 28 days. At first, the couple seemed to have reservations in marrying each other. Marie did not want to leave Paris for Athens for fear of being bored by the Athenian society, while Prince George would not give in to Marie's hopes of their living permanently in France since he also had obligations at home. The two eventually married in a civil ceremony in Paris on November 21, 1907, and in an Orthodox wedding in Athens, Greece on December 12, 1907. Thereafter, Marie became known as Her Imperial and Royal Highness, Princess Marie of Greece and Denmark. In a move that surprised Prince Roland, Prince George waived his rights to the whole of Marie's inheritance, which gave his wife the freedom to manage and spend her own fortune any way she wanted. She would only be expected to give legacies to their future children. Marie's fortune bailed out the impoverished Greek royals. She helped her husband's banished relatives when the Greek royal family was exiled, even paying for the private schooling of Prince George's nephew, Prince Philip of Greece, while her own children were attending public lycees. Though the union produced two children, Prince Peter and Princess Eugenie, Prince George was physically and emotionally distant from his wife. As a result, Princess Marie went searching for affection from other men, one of the first ones being Prince Ag, eldest son of George's uncle, Prince Valdemar. The two allegedly shared an episode of passionate flirtation, an affair that did not seem to bother Prince George anyway. She eventually went on flirtation spree with French Prime Minister Aristide Briand from 1913 until 1916, but she halted the affair since he did not want to share him with the politician's other mistresses, most especially actress Berthe Cerny. It has been suspected that Marie lured Aristide into ousting his brother-in-law, King Constantine, from the Greek throne in favor of her husband, Prince George, or that she was lured by the Prime Minister to get Greece to support the Allied forces during World War I. But the most interesting thing about Marie was her sexual dysfunction, which led her to study psychoanalysis. It was her affair with Sigmund Freud's disciple, Rudolf Lowenstein, which gave her much interest into psychoanalysis. This eventually led her to study what she initially called as sexual dysfunction, as she had not felt sexual fulfillment despite her many sexual relationships. In 1924, Princess Marie's theory of frigidity was published in Bruxelles Medical Journal under the pseudonym A.E. Narjani. She conducted the research by studying 243 women and measuring the distance between their clitoris and vagina, which she believed was critical in achieving orgasm. She categorized women with short distances as paraclitoridian, and they were the ones who easily reached orgasm during intercourse. On the other hand, she classified those with longer distances, or more than 2.5 centimeters, as teleclitoridian, which included women who had difficulty reaching orgasm during intercourse. Those in between were categorized as mesoclitorian. Classifying herself as teleclitoridian, she sought the help of Joseph Halban, who moved her clitoris via surgery close to her vagina, in a procedure that the princess dubbed and published as the Halban-Narjani operation. When she did not get the desired results, she had the operation repeated. In 1925, she consulted Sigmund Freud about her frigidity, which was later found out to be her failure to reach orgasm in missionary position during intercourse. It was Marie who had the Austrian neurologist asking, "The great question that has never been answered, and which I have not yet been able to answer, despite my 30 years of research into the feminine soul, is, what does a woman want?" It was Freud who helped Marie remember that time when she caught her wet nurse and her father's half-brother having sex. The two drugged her to keep her quiet while they went on with their sexual exploit. Princess Marie ransomed Freud out of the shackles of the Nazis, making possible the doctor's and his family's escape from Austria, as well as the transport of his analytic couch, his antiquities, and books to London. Also, through her massive fortune, Marie was able to help 200 Jewish families flee Nazi Germany. She also used her wealth to make psychoanalysis popular in France. She set up a training school for future psychoanalysts and founded the French Institute of Psychoanalysis in 1926. She also published a number of books on psychoanalysis and even translated Freud's works into French. A practicing psychoanalyst until her death, Princess Marie would only take 5 or 6 patients at a time. She would have them sit with her in her garden and later in her boudoir when she got older, crocheting while they talked. She showed an interest in the criminal mind, conducting interviews with American Carol Chessman, who had been in the death row for several years, as well as Madame Lefebvre, who shot her pregnant daughter-in-law. Princess Marie's escapades were beyond the ordinary. She once steered a scandal when she modeled for Romanian sculptor Constantin Brancusi in 1919. The modernist artist represented Marie as a giant bronze penis, which mirrored the subject's obsession to the male phallus. Living a rather extraordinary life, Princess Marie Bonaparte died of leukemia on September 21, 1962, in Saint-Tropez, France. She was 80 years old. Her ashes were interred in the Royal Cemetery in Tatoy, Greece.